Hi, I'm Chike Coleman of the Wheelchair Watcher. That's Chuck Koplinski of the News Gazette.
Sure?
Yes.
Okay.
That's Chuck Koplinski of the News Gazette and the Illinois Times, and this is Real Reviews, the Cinematic Underground, the show where we talk about movies new in theaters, on DVD, and some TV shows. And this week, we have a very special review for you because it's coming to you early. This is the
We're
review.
ahead of the curve.
For once, yes, we were ahead of the curve. Other than Oscar season, we don't usually get to do that. But how was the viewing week, Chuck? Did you find interesting things on the net and around the theaters?
I sat through some horrible things, quite frankly.
You did?
I sat through 999. I sat through Gods of Egypt.
Which I know is horrible.
Both were quite bad. But
So
I
you
was pleasantly surprised with Eddie the Eagle.
You were?
It's pretty much exactly what you would expect, but sometimes that's okay. It's kind of like comfort food. It's Eddie the Eagle is the meatloaf and mashed potatoes of cinema.
Okay. Sounds like a good pick of something to go see
Satisfying.
this weekend.
It's nothing spectacular, but you know what you're going to get. That's fine.
We were going to go do a review of Eddie the Eagle this week, but things took a left turn for me. So instead, we're going to be reviewing something that's coming out next week, which is a rarity for the show, and that is Zootopia, the latest Disney animation film. Not Disney Pixar, Disney Animation. They're two separate entities. I want to make that very
should be
distinctly
clear.
And this film centers on animals living in a town where they are upright. They're much like humans. They're upright. They're walking. They go to businesses every day. They have regular jobs. And all of a sudden, one of the animals goes missing, and when they find that animal is savage, and it's the job of Officer Judy Hopps to try and find out why this animal went savage. She's also the first bunny cop on the entire force.
She's been regulated, though. She was giving out parking tickets.
Yeah, she was a meter maid.
Yeah, and did it very quickly. Gave out a lot of tickets.
Gave out 200.
Very fast rabbit.
Yeah. And we also meet Nick Wilde, who is a sly fox that basically outwits her on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, kind of like the street guy. Yeah.
And they work together to try and solve, because she's got 48 hours to do this, or she's fired. She's got 48 hours to find out where this missing person is and why, he went savage. So through the course of that time, we have the mystery solved for us. And I'm not going to reveal how things turn out, but it's a Disney movie, so you guys basically know what's going to happen. Chuck, why don't you go first with your thoughts? Because I'm a bit negative on this film.
Really? I thought it was very clever. I thought it was very clever. I liked the little bits throughout. It has a feeling of being a setup piece, as though this is the first entry, and that they're giving us the layout of Zootopia and how it works, and that they're hoping to do maybe another couple films. I mean, that was my sense of it, that this was an opening salvo on what they hope to be a franchise. I think that a lot of these movies live and die by their voice cast. And I think the voice cast was quite good. If you know, I think the show's called Once.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, with Jennifer Goodwin, the lead there. She is the little bunny. And Jason Bateman is the fox, which I think is great casting. Idris Elba is the chief, and I think he's like a water buffalo or something.
Yeah.
And he's, you hear his voice, and it's a perfect match for this character. Yeah, and then these other things throughout. J.K. Simmons is there.
The lion.
He's the lion, the mayor. So that's perfect. And Bonnie Hunt is Officer Hopps's mom, called Bonnie Hopps.
Yeah.
Get it? Yeah. So, I love the voice talent there, and I thought there were just a lot of clever little bits throughout. The phone character is PB&J. I love these little things that are throughout the movie.
Did you catch the Breaking Bad reference?
Yes, yeah, and then there's that as well. So, and that's one of the things that I require of an animated film, that it works on a couple different levels. It's got to entertain, the adults as well as the kids. And that, I think, is one of where Pixar usually hits it out of the park. There's a lot more going on in subtext of Pixar films for adults, and I think they're more rewarding to adults than kids. This one doesn't work on that level as far as emotional.
That's my main gripe is.
But I think that it is, a nice I guess I would equate it kind of like Eddie the Eagle. It's a comfort food type of animated film. I don't think it aims to hit a home run. I think it just aims to be an entertaining, clever movie, and I think in that regards it succeeds. But I think I know where you're headed with this.
Okay, so for me, there are two main problems with the movie. One is that there's no humor for the adults to really enjoy and gravitate to. And my second problem, and this is to me the most glaring issue with the film, is they beat you over the head with the morals so many times throughout the film. First you have Judy Hopps, not being regarded as a real cop and being treated as a real person because she's a bunny. And then...
You're not treated as a real bunny?
I'm sorry. Yeah. She's not being treated...
Real cop.
Real cop because she's a bunny. And then later on you learn similar circumstances befell Nick in his childhood. And you also have these little undertones of prejudice that are just blatant throughout the film of, because we're the predators, we're supposed to be the ones you pay attention to, and you feel bad for the meat characters. Now, I understand that. My problem is that
But isn't that a good message for the kids to realize?
It's a great message, but I don't think it needs to be so obvious.
But I think this is a kid's film.
True, it is a kid's film, but I've seen other Disney animation movies have a similar moral message and not beat kids over the head with it, like Wreck-It Ralph. Was a perfect example of a movie where you have a character can be anything he wants, a good guy, a bad guy, whatever. And I love that message. And they don't, hit you over the head with it. They just say, this guy wants to do the right thing, even though he's X, And that's what I wanted to feel here when watching Zootopia. But you have at the very beginning of the film, Judy Hopps being abused by a fox because that fox thinks he's the king of the jungle, and he's pretty much a hick, but he's still, taller, stronger than her.
In his branch of the woods, yeah.
So I mean that's my main problem with this particular film. I feel like Jason Bateman, as good as he is as Nick Weil, my problem with him is I feel like he's imitating Robert Downey Jr. a bit. And I know imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but I feel like if you interchange the voices of Robert Downey Jr. and Jason Bateman, you get the same thing. I don't know whether you agree with that or disagree with that. Just take any old line Nick throws out there and how sly he is.
But isn't Bateman's persona very much like Downey Jr.'s anyway? I mean, is he really stretching or going outside of the ballpark where Bateman is concerned as a screen performer?
I'm trying to think of a performance where they're, different. But I think the sly humor there with Robert Downey Jr., the dialogue used is much more something he would say than something Bateman would say. Bateman's the more logical performer, and Downey Jr. to me just kind of is like, screw it, I'm gonna say these things to you because they're the truth. So it felt weird to me in that sense. I love Jennifer Goodwin as Judy Hopps. She's great. I love her so much. The scene where they're with the sloths.
Yes, in the DMV.
Is
brilliant.
Is genius.
It was brilliant. Yeah.
Is genius.
Yeah, that was the highlight of the movie. I agree.
And the punchline to the overall joke, because there is a joke said within the scene, is even better than everything that preceded the scene to begin with.
Yeah, that was good.
And I love that, and I love all the supporting characters. They make the movie work for me. They make the movie kind of function as a whole, and they should, because you're talking about a whole place. But they're really what make the movie enjoyable for me, as opposed to the overall story and moral message, because I feel like it's just pushed down children's throats a bit. And I know you disagree with that in some ways, and I'm curious.
Seems a little nitpicky.
A little bit? Okay. All right. That's fair. I just didn't have as strong of a laugh as I wanted to. from the comedy that was being produced.
Okay.
Although I will say one other thing that I loved about this movie. There's a scene where Nick Weil is trying to get his kid a popsicle from an elephant ice cream shop. Is that basically what it is? And he's sad because he realized, oh crap, I don't have the money to pay for this. And what that evolves into is an absolute genius introduction into who Nick Weil is and why he does what he does. It's great. So for that alone, kids are going to enjoy this movie. I don't know if adults will find it as appealing, except for maybe the yoga scene with the animals. That might be nice. But overall, I thought it was just an okay film. I'm going to give it 2 out of 5.
Okay.
What are you going to give it?
3 out of 4.
Okay. So the other thing I wanted to talk with you about this week, outside of that, is we had some shows to watch this week. We had The Flash this week.
Oh, okay.
And with King Shark, and we had Legends of Tomorrow, Star City 2046. So, can you give the audience a rundown with what happened with King Shark?
King Shark is a, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I kind of was watching this out of the corner of my eye. I had a lot to do that night. A character from Earth 2.
Yes, in this case.
A character from Earth 2, a villain in which experiments were done. And of course, it's this hybrid of a man and a shark that escapes to Earth 1, where Barry is. And of course, he goes around causing all sorts of mayhem. Kind of a gruesome opening where he dispatches 2 cops. It kind of made me and my son go, whoa, this guy is not to be messed with. But of course, that's just kind of the periphery of this episode, because Barry's dealing with an awful lot of other personal things as usual. Trying to get form a relationship with his stepfather's son.
Right.
And that's not going well at all, because I think they're both feeling as though they are fears of being displaced in Joe's eyes, I think would be the best way to say that. And also Barry does a nice thing. I think the best part of this episode was when he tells Joe and Iris about their doppelgangers on Earth 2 and what he experienced with them and their reaction to the possibilities that their other lives are realized on this other Earth. I thought was quite interesting. And also shows, Barry's emotional turmoil in dealing with separate people, well, the same people, but separate versions of them on 2 different worlds. And I'm trying to think, how did this end?
I mean, it ended with King Shark getting electrocuted.
Right, yeah, but I mean, after that, obviously they captured King Shark. I mean, that's but there's usually some sort of, there's some sort of cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah, there was, and I wanted to talk with you about that.
Yeah,
Did you see it?
Refresh my memory. Yeah, no, refresh my memory.
Okay, so last week we had the alternate version of the Flash, Jay Garrick.
Right, and he's been revealed as Zoom. Right.
He is now Zoom, and he apparently... Zoom Jay Garrick captured Flash Jay Garrick.
Right, yeah. But what was the ending this week?
That was the ending this week.
Okay.
And then there's a third guy in a mask, which we also think may be Jay Garrick. So he may be collecting the different versions of himself from the different parallel Earths. But whether that version of Jay Garrick is Hunter Zolman or any of that stuff, I don't know.
We're not supposed to know yet.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cruel because the next episode isn't for a month now.
Yeah. It's a complete nightmare for me. I really loved this episode a lot, not just because the effects, as usual, were on point, but as you said, the emotional contingent of Barry telling Iris and Joe about their other selves. And also, the other interesting thing, you forgot this, Caitlin also learns
Caitlin and Cisco, yes.
of her
doppelganger
from Cisco, and that's also an equally powerful moment.
Yeah, and Cisco's fear that she will become
Killer
Frost. I mean, he seems to be very paranoid about the way she's acting and everything, and of course she explains, hey, I just saw the man I love disappear, maybe be killed, and this is the second time this happened in 3 years. Obviously, I'm going to be, a little screwed up emotionally.
And I fall in love more and more with the way Cisco handles his friends, because he's honest with them, but he's also the one most vulnerable and deeply affected by when things go wrong. because you know that these people are his family. And in some ways, he's better at portraying that emotion than even Barry, who also has a lot at stake with his own family and, of course, the family friends of Star Labs.
Well, yeah, and his whole notion of family is different as well because of his mother being killed and his father being in jail.
Right.
So I think it's a bit, this whole idea of family is a bit more precious to him because of it.
And I think for Cisco, something different is true because I think he feels displaced by his older brother and all of his older brother's accomplishments.
Right. Yeah, and we don't know anything about his parents or anything.
No.
At this point.
So, but he has distanced himself from them,
right,
for sure. But overall, great episode.
Continues to be one of the more consistent shows on TV.
Yeah, and really I don't know how they pull it off every week.
It really is. Yeah.
And Legends of Tomorrow aired this week as well. Star City 2048. Did you see that?
I did.
For me, this was better than what I would usually get with Legends of Tomorrow because you had the gang, meaning, Rip Hunter and the rest of the
Coleman,
team.
yeah, all those guys, yeah.
In 2048 or 2046, I can't
Whatever
remember which.
It is.
And they come face to face with an arrow, but it's not Oliver Queen's arrow. Turns out another uprising must have occurred to where the city was completely decimated, and they're trying to find this item within this futuristic city to be able to get themselves back in the air and back into time traveling. And they're also learning the consequences of their actions, which is unique and interesting. And also, again, they do a really great job of pairing the legends off with each other so that you get a different dynamic each week. And then when you have these two people come up again, you're like, oh, these are my favorite two. Because like this week we had Firestorm, one half of it exactly. Jax kind of having a thing for Hawk Girl.
And who wouldn't? But that's something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also you got the same thing happening with the Atom, Ray Palmer. So that's an interesting dynamic change. I don't know. I felt like this episode was good, but not as strong as it could have been.
That's my feeling on every episode of this show so far. It hasn't hooked me the way The Flash has. It's always kind of just mildly interesting to me. I think I just don't like the pace of the show. It's like there's too many characters, they're trying too hard to cram too much stuff into 43 minutes, and it all just seems kind of coming at me at every point. And I can't wrap my head around it. Even though The Flash has, I think, as many characters, the tone is completely different. And I almost think as though Legends bombards me, whereas Flash just kind of takes me away and I want to go with it, if that makes any sense. I just haven't been hooked on this one as much as The Flash.
And I want to offer you an alternate reason for why it may not be sticking with you, and this is the reason why it's not completely selling with me either, is they don't feel like family. They don't feel like a family. Or
there is that push and pull constantly, yes.
It's too much of a push and pull for me to go, you know what, I'm invested if Captain Cold dies.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
I'm not either. And that to me is the main key problem, is like you want to be invested in these people, but they don't treat each other with any form of respect until bad crap happens.
Well, and there are likable characters there, but I don't think we're spending enough time with them. I want to spend more time with Palmer. I want to spend more time with Hawk Girl. I want to spend more time with Firestorm. And we're spending too much time with Heatwave and Captain Cold, and they're just very abrasive. And Rip Hunter is kind of abrasive too.
He doesn't have any control, and he doesn't ever really have a plan until like the last
he's always
possible
like, well,
second.
we got to do this. He's always at that level. So they just haven't found the right rhythm to this thing yet, I don't think. I'll stick with it for a little bit more because I'm just intrigued because I know they're going to be going back in time. We're going to hit some interesting DC characters like Sergeant Rock in World War II and Jonah Hex in the Wild West. I want to see how they handle this stuff, but I'm not completely sold on this one yet.
Yeah, I'm not either, and I think that's the problem. We've got other great stuff coming up, though, in the next month or so. We got Daredevil coming back for season 2.
Before we go there, did you see online that there have been pictures posted from the set of Supergirl? They're filming the episode in which her and the Flash meet up, and there were pictures posted online this week.
Yes, I have
very
seen
anxious
that.
to see that.
And
because Supergirl, for some reason, you're not talking about that, But I really like that show.
I like it too. I just haven't gotten all the way caught up yet. That's why we haven't
Okay.
been talking about it. But I did see The Woman Who Has Everything this week.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes. Based
Fantastic
on a classic comic story.
adaptation.
Yes.
And, just great. And I think next week she gets exposed to red kryptonite.
Yes, but the week after that, which is the episode on this Monday, she ends up going to the Fortress of Solitude.
Oh.
So, yeah, you need to catch up.
Yeah. That show is superb. Melissa Benoist, who plays the lead role, is intensely likable.
Great casting.
One other thing I wanted to discuss before we go today is, do you have any Oscar predictions you want to amend from last week?
No, I don't think so. I think, though, like I say, that the best supporting actress one is the pool breaker. If you're in any sort of office pool, that's going to be the one that's going to screw you up, because I still think that's the most high-profile, unpredictable one.
I do want to change my answer on that one at least.
Okay.
And say I'm going to
So
go.
you're changing your pick.
I'm changing my pick to Alicia Vikander.
So you're going with me.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we're lockstep on a lot of this stuff. There's only going to be a couple that's going to end up getting me chili dogs out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the quality control bit that's going to mess with us both.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, we're going to be off next week because it's the Oscars this week, and I want to give us some space to think about all that happened and all the really naughty Chris Rock jokes that were told. Also, I want to make a special mention to one Netflix show before we go, and that is Fuller House, the sequel to Full House. I will say this about the show. They did everything they possibly could to give us the right setting and all the characters and the new characters that we could get attached to. But for me, the only episode of this show that works is the very first one. Everything else after that just feels cheesy to the max and isn't worth viewing. So if you guys want a true finale to Full House, watch the first episode of Fuller House, because it's fantastic. Gives you all the nice nods and little surprises that you could ever hope to see, and is deeply funny and engaging.
How many episodes are there of this?
13.
13, okay.
And also, if you're interested at all in a sequel to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, you now have it in The Sword of Destiny. That movie, I watched that last night. It really was a sleeper. Nothing really good about that other than the action and the dialogue. Just the conversations were interesting. But the story was just a muddled mess. So what's coming out in the next couple weeks that you're excited for?
Oh, the next couple weeks. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot is coming out with Tina Fey. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
Let's see, is there anything else on the horizon? There's a lot of movies coming out, but nothing that's really grabbing me. I can't tell you that I'm excited about My Big Fat Greek Wedding Part 2, because I'm not.
I never saw the first, to be honest with you.
Well, you didn't miss a thing. That is more of a cultural phenomenon than a good movie. I read a guy who had a theory as to why that film was so successful, and I don't know if you realize this. I mean, that film was huge.
It was huge.
$150 million, I think, this little thing grossed at the box office. And this critic said that he felt that people flocked to it as kind of a comfort food type thing, because this was after 9/11. He felt that people wanted just something that was simple, something that kind of spoke to, American values or familial values, and he felt as though that was the reason this thing was a big hit, which was as good of a theory as any that I had read to this inexplicable thing. So I'm not looking forward to that. I'm kind of, in a B-movie kind of way, looking forward to London Has Fallen for some odd reason. I mean, it's not going to be good, but it looks to be just a good popcorn movie. I like the first one enough. I like the people in it. I mean, Angela Bassett and Morgan Freeman, and Eckhart's a good president. Butler in the right role is fine. I'm kind of looking forward to that. And I'm intrigued by 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that.
I'm curious about that. I saw Cloverfield again not too long ago in a class I'm teaching, and it holds up. And with this cast, I love Goodman. I love, and of course I'm blanking on her name.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead?
Yeah, I like her. So I'm looking forward to that too. And Eye in the Sky is coming. Alan Rickman's last role. Helen Mirren and Aaron Paul about the modern warfare as far as drones and other satellite-type weapons and how we become displaced or dispassionate about the destructions caused because we're so far removed from it. So there is a few things coming up before, of course, Batman, Superman, which of course is on everyone's mind. You know, you can't swing a dead cat over your head without hitting something about this movie. And I'm sure a new commercial for it and many other movies will be during the Oscar telecast on Sunday.
I have to say that I'm excited for Batman vs. Superman, but I'm also really cautious about that because I just found this out yesterday, and I don't know if you know this.
Are you going to give away something else?
No, no.
Okay.
David Goyer wrote the script originally with one of his writing partners.
Okay.
But what I heard is that Affleck read the script, liked bits of it, but didn't like all of it, and rewrote things.
While he was in his bat suit.
While he was in his bat suit,
yes,
yeah.
I read that too. And, you know, I have no problem with that.
So
I mean, the guy wrote, you know, he was a co-writer for Good Will Hunting. He's an Academy Award-winning screenwriter. That doesn't bother me, and that's the other reason why it doesn't bother me when they said he's going to be doing a Batman film on his own. Fine, he knows the mythology, and that's a good point. At least it wasn't Zack Snyder co-writing or rewriting the script.
Exactly my point.
Yes.
And that's the thing that makes me kind of excited, because if I have Ben Affleck writing on the script for Batman, I know that he's going to inflict personality things within Bruce Wayne. They're going to be interesting and unique.
Well, and you know his buddy Kevin Smith will look at it too.
Yeah.
And Smith, even though I don't like his films and his personality rubs me the wrong way, he knows his superhero mythology.
Yeah.
He'll make sure it's done right.
And the thing that I love about this particular take on Bruce Wayne, I'm going to put this out there, is that he's worn. He's worn from all the war he's been fighting to stop these criminals.
Yeah.
But I don't want that to be just the one note that's played.
That's my fear, because every commercial I've seen, it's...
With that one note. It
so
ain't
he's either worn down or constipated. I'm not quite sure which.
I don't know.
And that's where I fear may have been a stumble. I've never thought Affleck has been a great actor. And I know that they had mentioned Clooney for this role initially. I know he didn't want to do it because of his bad experience before. But an actor of that caliber, you could see him bringing certain different gradations than one note to this being worn down and jaded. So I hope that Affleck kind of finds some new areas in his acting for this.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm excited about with this movie, because I still wish that Henry Cavill wasn't in the role of Superman. I really, God's honest truth, I wish Brandon Routh was.
Me too. Me too. But in Cavill's defense, the first film, I don't really think they gave him much to do. And
I feel like, from the trailers at least, the same is true here.
That's my fear as well.
So
we will see.
So we'll see. Hopefully, we'll get positive answers to these questions. And next week, we'll talk about maybe London has fallen and Olympus has fallen. Give it a little double feature swing. And we'll talk to you guys soon. You can find my work at thewheelchairwatcher.com. You can find Chuck's work at thenewsgazette.com or illinoistimes.com. And until then, we will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.